Bone broth. It's fantastic. It's really good for you. It's really easy to make, and I've gotten a lot of requests for my bone broth, so I'm going to share with you the recipe. Pretty simple. Just need some good beef bones. I use primarily beef bones. I have not done chicken or turkey stock. Some celery, red onions, carrots, and parsley. Water in a large stock pot, and you're on your way. So let's get started, and we'll make some bone broth. Before I start making bone broth, I do roast my bones. Roast them at about 325, 350. You can roast them for anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes, but just make sure that they're nice and loose. If they've been frozen or refrigerator, it's always better to soften them up. Once your bones are roasted, I like to put them in a cool bath of water with some vinegar. I just use some organic apple cider vinegar. What this does is it loosens up the mineral content in the calcium, so it helps get the nutrients out of the bones and into your broth. Definitely a step worth taking. I'll let them in here for maybe 15 minutes, just do a little soak in the vinegar. I'll pull them out, and then they go into the stock pot, which I got on the stove to preheat and pre-boil. I've got the bones in, the pot is covered, and it's on high heat. So we're going to bring it to a very rapid boil. We're going to let that happen for about 15 minutes. At that point, I will turn it off and let it cool down. And you'll see some film on the top. It's a different type of film. It's kind of the impurities and the grossness. So take a strainer, strain all that stuff off, then go back to boiling. The process that I do is a rapid boil and bring it down, let it settle a little, bring up the boil, and down to a simmer. I'll do that for a couple times the first few hours, and then I will simmer with an occasional boil for the next however long you want to do it. Some recipes say this can be done in 4 hours. My preference is a day and a half to 2 days of just simmering and adding back a little bit of water as it does boil off. I think it gives it a much richer and deeper flavor. Now, as for the vegetables that you saw earlier on, those will go into the broth, but I wait till the last 2 hours. If you put them in too early, they will really get mushy and liquefied. So I find it a little easier just to get the nutrients and the flavor out without having to scrape and strain through a cheesecloth. So you can add the vegetables at the end. Another tip that I found is if you take your parsley and loosely pull it, put it in a strainer, a tea ball. It's much easier to get out that way too. Use your veggies in big chunks. I'll show you that when we get to that stage. Here's the first boil. You can see some of the dark impurities at the top. It's been a few hours. I'm going to leave probably about 2 more, so you can start to just put in the vegetables. Ow, watch, it's hot. Again, strainer tea ball for the parsley. Makes cleanup a lot easier. After you're sufficiently happy with the boil, remove the bones, discard them, watch out, they will hold the heat for a while. And then pour into whatever container through a fine mesh strainer. If you don't have that, you can use a cheesecloth. Just takes out the little bit of leftover particles. Also have a fresh baked loaf of sourdough out of the Dutch oven just for some dipping. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and leave any comments if you make some of your own bone broth.